It's Monday once again. Welcome back to the Bigs Review. And, last week I came out to So Right by Dave Matthews Band. This week was going to be the Carpenters' Top of the World. But, I thought about copyright claims and thought about YouTube and thought about, you guys not getting the show because of that. So I'm going to scratch that whole idea until I get this podcast thing really, really well done and, get some better equipment. For now, this is what you got. Just imagine Karen Carpenter singing me in here. Uh, let's get this show on the road. Let's start it off quick and easy. Insert mom joke here. We're going to start off again, as we will every week, with the guy who was in first place coming into the week. That, of course, was the still undefeated and only undefeated team this season, Jimmy Dunlap, who took on Barry Nisman and got a win 11-8. Close categories this week between those two. Jimmy won by 2 runs, a triple, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, and 2 steals. Barry took doubles by 1, 2 walks, and .01 whip. And they tied in losses and homers given up by a pitcher. For Jimmy, it was a good solid week for him, man. Lots of it wasn't a case of like offense versus pitching. It was definitely a mix of both for both these guys. For Jimmy, his bench was surprising. He started off the week absolutely strong, ended up going 10 for 32 on his bench. That's a .313 batting average, 5 runs, a homer, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, and an error. Just a couple of small errors, I think, or judgment calls that didn't work out is a better way of putting it. On the 26th, which would have been Friday, he played Max Kepler. Max Kepler was on the bench, rather, and he went 2 for 4 with a homer. And Stephen Piscotty was in the lineup, went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. And then Saturday, Max Muncy went 2 for 4 with a run, 2 strikeouts. And Chad Pinder wasn't playing, and he was in the lineup at second base. Maybe that one was just a timing thing. The Kepler decision was probably a matchup decision. Again, I'm not gonna go too deep into second guessing a guy who hasn't lost yet this year. He made a few moves this week. Nothing stands out. Although Max Kepler is probably the pickup of the week, and I'll get to that much later, probably an hour from now or so. We'll move on. Barry. Barry had a great week on his bench. He went 7 for 36. That's a 194. 3 runs, 3 doubles, 4 RBI, 5 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Did pick up Nick Ahmed and dropped him, 2 days later. I don't think he ever made the lineup. Did finally drop Phillip Ervin. Looks like, his early season man crush was enough, and he moved on to Vince Velasquez. Truth be told, I don't know all that much about Phillip Ervin. So when I saw him get drafted and he was a prospect that was on the NA slot, I didn't know who the guy was. So, it's good to see he did get some playing time for you. It was a little bit productive, so good eye on you, Uncle Barry. Key players this week. Again, for Jimmy, it was Max Kepler, who, again, is the best ad of the week. Spoiler alert to the end of the week. Stephen Piscotty did do well. And Shin Soo Chu, I always have a hard time saying that name. Too many SH and, yeah. Kepler went 333 on James's team. 389 on base percentage, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts with a double. Again, for a guy he picked up midweek, when did he pick him up? I picked him up on Monday, so he did have him for the full week. But again, he had him for the full week, got a huge week out of him. Piscotty had a homer. He had the triple. I believe, he had the only triple of the matchup. And Piscotty hit 348 on base of 407, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 3 walks, 7 runs scored. And for Shin Soo Choo, he hit 355 with a 394 on base, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, a steal, 6 runs, 2 doubles, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Pitching wise, so Jimmy had J Happ, who was fantastic. 14 innings. That's obviously 2 starts. A win, 7 strikeouts, a 1.29 ERA, a .71 WHIP. Fantastic week for him. Mike Minor, 7 innings, 13 strikeouts. That was a career high. I was watching that game, thinking to myself, this guy's going to throw another complete game shutout. He didn't, obviously. And Brad Hand. Brad Hand, 3 appearances, 2 saves, clean innings, 6 strikeouts, .33 WHIP because he gave up a walk. Absolutely fantastic. For Barry, it's what he paid for in Paul Goldschmidt. A 381 batting average, a 480 on base percentage, homer, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 5 runs. Yadier Molina certainly helped him out. A 348 average, a 333 on base, a homer, 7 RBIs, 2 runs, 2 doubles. And for Barry's third was Eric Sogard. That's another name that he picked up late in the week, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he picked him up on Friday. So he only played him for 3 games. But he got a 545 average and a 643 on base out of him with 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 2 doubles, 4 runs scored, 3 walks, and an error. Any other week, this would have been the pickup of the week because it was picked up late in the week, and he got such great production. But the amount of production that Jimmy got out of Max Kepler for an entire week, we'll give him that. It was a bad pitching week for Uncle Barry. He only had 1 win. He put up a 4.05 ERA despite winning WHIP. Didn't have very many relief appearances. Gave up 5 homers. I mean, hitting kept him in it, but I remember this matchup being very Uncle Barry heavy earlier in the week. And I feel like Jimmy's team made a late comeback. I can't prove it because I'm going to start taking snapshots of daily matchup totals at the end of every day and keep those for a week and then see how that pans out as far as like future matchups is concerned. But it really felt like Uncle Barry was going to take down James this week, or it wasn't going to be an 11-8 final. I felt like it was a much closer matchup toward the end of the week. Jimmy did have a great final day, if I remember correctly. Either Sunday or Saturday, he had an absolutely monster day. It was not Sunday. It was Saturday as far as counting stats are concerned. He had 4 homers and 10 RBIs. Again, good on Jimmy. He's still undefeated. You can't take that away from him yet. He does not, however, have first place, and we'll get to that in a moment. We move on, though. We move on to who was in second place coming into the week. That was Teoscar named Desire Mike Haber, who took on Stanton Room only James McCloskey. And give the devil his due. James McCloskey has been piecing this thing together despite losing his first 2 draft picks. And he gets a win this week as well, 10-9 over Mike Haber. Close categories, James won by 1 stolen base, 1 error, and 2 wins. For Mike, he won by 2 doubles, a strikeout, a home run given up by a pitcher, and 1 relief appearance. They tied in runs and walks. So for James, James had a great week on his bench. He went 3 for 14. That's a 214 batting average, 3 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs, a stolen base, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. The majority of that, I just don't see how he was getting into his lineup. One day it was a Hunter Renfroe pinch hit home run. he wasn't playing that day, so you're not going to put him in your lineup over guys who are starting. So, um, he used all 13 of his moves. But let this be a lesson to folks. He used them very wisely. He left himself with a move or two at the end of the week, for something he needed, and that was a pickup of Josh Phegley, who could, stay on the team and be the everyday catcher for a while. He's been blowing through catchers, like insert mom joke here. It was a solid week for him. Absolutely solid week for him. For Mike, he had a 7 for 30 week on the bench. That's 233 batting average. 3 runs, 3 doubles, an RBI, 6 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Again, nothing that stands out as far as, oh my God, what a bad decision or what an interesting decision. The only thing that was huge this week for him was the veto trade on Tuesday between him and Frank, where Frank would receive Justin Turner, Paul DeJong, and Madison Bumgarner, and he would be giving up Carlos Correa, JD Martinez, and Roenis Elias. I'll just let that sit for a minute. What a fucking bad trade. Key players in this matchup. For James, again, it is Cody fucking Bellinger. I mean, a 444 average, a 500 on base, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 4 runs scored, 2 doubles, 4 walks, a steal, and 2 strikeouts. The guy is just in another stratosphere this year. He's already got 14 homers, and it's not yet May. He's got 36 RBIs. It's not yet May. He's batting .427 on the season, and he's got 5 steals to boot. Like, the guy is absolutely the MVP of the first month. He's carrying James's team while Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are on the DL. This team is going to be scary when these guys get back. Just a forewarn for everybody. That's a team to watch out for. Pitching-wise, Hyun-Jin Ryu had a great start coming back off the DL, 7 innings, a win. Gave up 1 homer and had 10 strikeouts, a 2.57 ERA, a 1.14 WHIP. I didn't finish up James's hitting. Yandy Diaz, 25th round pick. Number 299 overall, or 399 overall. I've said it before. This might be the steal of the entire draft. 294 average, 300 on base for the week, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a triple, a double, 3 runs scored, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Guy's been on fire. And Jean Segura coming back from the DL. He only hit 7. He only had 1 game, I think, during the week. He had 1 full game. He got into the game on the 27th, which is Saturday. But his full game was Sunday when he came back. 3 for 4, 2 runs, a triple, an RBI. The triple is the huge thing. Because though James would have won the stat 1-0 with the Yandy Diaz triple, this put that nearly out of reach with a second one for the week. Back to his pitchers. I mentioned Hyun-Jin Ryu. Sonny Gray has been found on the garbage pile. 16th round pick. 10 1/3. He didn't get a win, but he got 14 strikeouts, and he's starting to pitch like old Sonny Gray, right? Like, he's not all the way back yet, but a 3.64 ERA is something that the Yankees would have paid double what they paid Sonny Gray for. And Charlie Morton, 6 innings and a win, 4 walks. You don't like to see that. 5 strikeouts, no earned runs, and a 1 WHIP. Solid. As solid as you can ask for. For Mike Haber, offensively, it was Paul DeJong, 400 batting average, a homer, 2 RBIs, 5 runs scored, and 3 doubles. Did not get a walk this week, but a 400 on base percentage you can't complain about at all. Jose Martinez, another Cardinal. I guess the Cardinals had a really good week this week. He hit 368 with a 409 on base, 2 runs, a double, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, a walk, and 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. And finally, first time I get to say this guy's name, and he was the second overall pick in the draft. It's Mookie Betts. It's about time I start saying his name. 364 average, 481 on base, a homer, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, 4 doubles, and 4 runs scored. That is more the week that Mike has been looking for out of Mookie Betts that he hasn't got the first 4 weeks. The first 3 weeks. This is week 4. He finally shows up to play. Hopefully better times are ahead. For his pitching, Jack Flaherty, 13 innings, 2 wins, 14 strikeouts, a 2.77 ERA, and a 6.9 WHIP. Nice. Emilio Pagan, another fucking awesome pickup. An inning and a third with a save. The guy already has 3 saves on the season. It's going to be interesting in Tampa how they use their closer situation between him, Alvarado, and Castillo. But Mike's got a piece of it, so saves are important here in the bigs. Finally, Aaron Nola, another name that I'm sure Mike has been waiting to hear me say. 6 2/3, 4 strikeouts, a 1.35 WHIP, and a 1.35 ERA, and a 1.20 WHIP. Another guy who has really struggled out of the gate, other than his first start of the season against Atlanta. He's failed to throw a quality start in 4 straight. It comes against Miami, but you take what you can get. This was an absolute dogfight. This went back and forth so many times during the week. It felt like every time I looked up, it was somebody else leading, and it was somebody else leading rather big. I feel like it was as far as like 13-7 or 12-8 midweek, and to have it come down to 10-9 where James and I worked together. So Sunday afternoon, I came into work and I believe it was tied 9-9, or he was up 11-9 or something like that. All Mike had left was Will Smith, and the Giants were losing. Like, the Giants lost that game big. There's no reason to get your closer into a game where they're down like 10-5 or whatever, or 9-5. And they got him in, and he promptly gave up 3 runs in the inning, but he got the relief appearance, and that's what matters. Mike moves from 2nd to 3rd. James from 5th to 4th. So these are 2 of the top teams in the league, and they had an absolute dogfight. Moving on, it is a pleasure once again to be right where I belong, on top of the world, looking down on the rest of you. Because I played James Santangelo this week, and I crushed it again. 16-5 is the final. James, I'll give James a ton of credit here at the end, but for now, let me gloat. I won by a triple, an error, 3 innings, a loss, 2 saves, and 2 strikeouts. James won by a strikeout and a relief appearance. And I'll get to those in a minute, because I could have won those too. On my bench, I left 10 for 32, which is a .313 batting average, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 8 walks, 5 strikeouts. As far as what I left on the bench, on Tuesday, Matt Chapman homered and had 3 walks against Lance Lynn in Oakland. I always want to call him Placido Polanco. Jorge Polanco went 0 for 4 against Wade Miley at home, and Lindor went 0 for 4 against Jorge Lopez. I feel like those are better matchups and better ballparks to be hitting in. As long as I've got these guys this overflow of infielders on my team, hashtag trade me a pitcher. I'm going to have stats on my bench. And that's fine. I will live with stats on my bench like that when I hit 14 homers and drive in 48 and hit 315. I'm okay with leaving a few homers and a few RBI on the bench if that's what I've got. The next day, I benched Polanco and he homers off of Verlander. And Lindor is in Miami and Baez is at home against Walker Buehler. Like, as long as I've got this overflow, I'm going to have stats on my bench, and I'm okay with that. For James, I didn't even total up his stuff. My apologies. Let me pause this, and I'll be right back. Okay, that didn't take long. He went 4 for 21, which is a 190 batting average, with a run, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and 9 strikeouts on his bench. The only thing that was puzzling on Saturday, D. Gordon did not play, and he was in center field. And Kyle Schwarber went 2 for 4 with 2 doubles on his bench. He did win doubles, but at that point it was still fairly close. He could have moved Christian Yelich to center and Schwarber in at left field. He only made maybe 3 moves all week. So there's nothing there that stands out. Key players for the week. Holy shit, welcome to the party, Jose Abreu. 571 average, 625 on base percentage, 2 homers, 12 RBIs, 2 doubles, 5 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. To Frank Bucco, that's why I'm not trading him for Caleb Smith. Juan Soto. 308 average, 379 on base, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 2 steals, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Thanks for him, Frank. And finally, and this is coming, Javi Baez, 360 average, 429 on base percentage, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 6 runs, and a double. Holy shit. This is the monster I've created. My outfield is no longer the ridiculous outfield it was last year. It's still very solid, but the infield is what's going to carry me this year, which is like the exact opposite of the game plan I had going into this year. Pitching-wise, strong performances from me. Trevor Bauer, 8 innings, a win, a homer, 6 walks. I don't like the walk totals that Bauer's putting up, but I can't argue with the success. And only 3 strikeouts, 1.13 ERA, a 1.25 whip. Chris Paddock, I watched Chris Paddock start. I really thought this kid was about to go a complete game because they pulled him after 7 innings and only like 80 pitches. I get you want to protect the kid. I get you don't want him throwing unnecessary innings. But that start was at home, and it was against a really hot Seattle team. I think if I'm the manager of San Diego, I think you have to keep him going. I don't know, 7 innings, a win, 9 strikeouts, a walk, nothing earned, a .29 whip. And finally, Joe Musgrove does it again. 12 2/3. He does not get a win. In fact, he gets a loss, 10 strikeouts. This is 2 starts in a row where Joe Musgrove is giving me quality starts and he's giving me a decent strikeout total. But the Pirates push him 1 inning too far. They got 7 innings out of him in a couple of starts. So as soon as he gets to 6, they're like, all right, 1 more and then you're done. And that 7th inning is where he sort of has to break through to get to the next level. He's been fantastic, though. I can't complain one bit about him. For James, Daniel Murphy comes back off the DL and delivers immediately. 316 average, 350 on base, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 4 runs, and 2 doubles. A walk, a strikeout, and an error. David Dahl, the Rockies were at home a lot this week, so I can understand, the Rockies being the strong team this week. 318 average, no walks, so it's the same on base percentage. 5 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, and an RBI. And more of the same from Christian Yelich. 375 average, 500 on base, a homer, 3 RBIs, 3 steals, 3 runs scored, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. However, it looks like Christian Yelich is injured. He pulled up lame on Sunday with back injury. It'll be interesting to see whether he does do a DL stint, and that could really hurt James's team because Christian Yelich has kind of been his entire team so far. Pitching wise, give the nod to Luke Weaver. 10 2/3, a win, 12 strikeouts, 2 homers, 2 walks, a 3.38 ERA, a 1.31 WHIP. Rich Hill comes off the DL for him and gives him a quality start, 6 innings, 2 homers, but they were both solo shots, and I think they were the only runs he gave up. 6 strikeouts, a 1.50 ERA, and a 0.83 WHIP. They must have been. Some of them must have been unearned runs then. And finally, Trevor May, winning relief appearances by 1. I'm going to give it to his best reliever. That was Trevor May. 3 relief appearances, clean inning and 2/3. So this guy must not get very much distance, but solid performance. James took a lot of abuse from me via text message. I would like to read an excerpt now for you all. As like I said, he's been a great sport this week, so I'm going to give him a ton of credit. But Pena given the lead before he hits the mound. I streamed Felix Pena. He came in after Cam Bedrosian did the opener gimmick, so Pena was given given the lead before he hits the mound. This is glorious with a Bobby Roode gif. Baseball is beautiful. Don't look at the Yankees game. Just don't do it. He says it makes me cry. I said, you should cry. All of my opponents should cry. Boys. I asked for James's ERA to be north of 5. It was north of 4, and that was more than enough. And Friday, I put up 4 homers and 16 RBIs that day. It was a dominant win. I'm going to gloat. I'm going to go to first place. I'm going to be 2 games up on Jimmy. I know the target's here, and I'm not helping. I'm just growing the target. Come get me. Knock me off my perch. James, you're a great sport. Best of luck to you going forward. You fall to 11th. We move on. We move on to another ass whooping that wasn't as bad as it could have been, and wasn't as bad as the majority of the week was. That's going to be Frank Bucco McCann, you bigot, versus all brawn, no brains, Andy Solar Greco. Andy, close categories this week. Andy won by, that's what happened. See, I had it initially that Andy won errors very close. But I also noticed as soon as I opened their matchup that the matchup score had changed. So I guess there was a scoring change for somebody, whether it be Rafi Devers or Ryan Braun, as it now looks like Andy and Frank tied in errors where Andy had won by 1 error. So that drops it to a 12-5 victory for Andy. Anyway, there was nothing close that Andy won. Nothing by 1, nothing very slim, which goes to show exactly how dominant this win was. For Frank, he won by 1. He won by 3 strikeouts and 1 homer given up by a pitcher. There were a lot of ties, triples, losses, saves, and errors were all tied. For Andy, as we'll go to his team first since he won, he went 10 for 52, which is a 192 batting average, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 walks, and 20 strikeouts on the bench. Fantastic week for him there. He did waste one single move that might come back and haunt him. On the 25th, he dropped Garrett Hampson, picked up Eric Thames, and then like an hour later picked up Carter Kieboom for Eric Thames. You know, I understand wanting to get that young kid. I understand as soon as the news drops, you run to the waiver wire and you see if he's available. And if he is, you drop the guy at the end of your bench. I get it. Eric Thames seems like he's going to win out that first base job for the season. And the question about Carter Kieboom is whether or not he's going to stick around after Trey Turner comes back. You know, there's rumors of him moving to second. I don't think he's ever played second. You know, I don't know how you give that kid who is defensively challenged as it is the second base job over Brian Dozier, who you paid a ton of money to come to you. Regardless, Andy left Carter Kieboom's first home run of his career on the bench, but Corey Seager's not coming out of that lineup. You know, Corey Seager is the guy he traded for, and you know, with Nelson Cruz on that team blocking the utility spot, I just see it as difficult to get Carter Kieboom in. But Andy's gonna have to walk that line. Otherwise, nothing of note. We move on to Frank's team. Frank, on his bench this week, went 12 for 34. That's a 353 batting average. 6 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, a homer, 7 RBIs, steal, 6 walks, and 7 strikeouts. You know, it's when you carry that big a bench and you throw that many spitballs at the wall to see what sticks, you're going to lose a few stats here and there. Dansby Swanson is the big name that sits on Frank's bench, and I see repeatedly that, like, Frank somehow had this guy go 083 with an 077 on base percentage for the week, and yet on the 23rd, which was Tuesday, he went 2 for 4 with a double, a triple, and a steal on his bench. I mean, he tied in triples. You know, he lost doubles by 3. Like, this is a helpful kid who sits on his bench. And, you know, it's frustrating for me to see. I can't imagine what it's like for him. Jason Hayward on the 24th had a 3-run homer, and Mitch Haniger went 0 for 3 in the lineup. And finally, on the 28th, which was Sunday, Zobrist went 2 for 2 with a run, a double, 2 RBIs, and a walk. Zobrist didn't start, so I can't blame him for not having him in the lineup. The game went 15 innings. Like, that's just troublesome. It's incredibly frustrating to see. Eric Thames rears his head again, this time with Frank. So Frank wasted a move on Monday. He dropped Josh Phegley for Mitch Garver, and then turns around and drops Mitch Garver for Eric Thames. And then later in the week, it looks like Thursday, Frank picks up Albert Pujols, but Albert Pujols isn't playing, so he has to drop him for Brandon Dixon. That's another wasted move. Coincidentally, Frank dropped Eric Thames for Vince Velasquez the next day after he picked him up. You know, he ran out of moves on Saturday. Do I think it could have helped to pick somebody else up? Yeah. Do I think these 2 wasted moves are exactly the issue? Yeah, I do. Those 2 moves would have been really helpful on Sunday when you didn't have anything, you couldn't do anything. You know, it just goes down to make sure you pick up your guy and make sure he's playing before you pick him up. Key players for the week. Andy had a great week from Nomar Mazara, 353 average, 3 no walks, so it's the same same on base percentage. 7 runs, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 3 doubles, 5 strikeouts. David Peralta gave him a good week, too. 286 with a 333 on base. 6 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, a homer, 8 RBIs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. And Adalberto Mondesi, 320 batting average, 333 on base percentage, 4 runs, a homer, 6 RBIs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. For a team with Adalberto Mondesi, excuse me, for a team with Adalberto Mondesi on it, not getting a single stolen base all week is probably the only time that'll happen. You know, you expect that guy to have 40 steals. He's already got 7 on the season in the first month. You know, not getting any this week, just surprising. Pitching-wise for Andy, Domingo Germán continues his incredible start to the season. 12 and 2/3, 2 wins, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, a 2.84 ERA, and 0.87 WHIP. Edwin Diaz is Edwin Diaz. He's lights out. He's had 3 relief appearances with a save, and they were clean with 6 strikeouts. And Justin Verlander is a Hall of Fame pitcher. He goes 8 innings with a win, 8 strikeouts, a solo homer to Jorge Polanco, as I mentioned earlier, 1.13 ERA, and 0.50 WHIP. For Frank, earlier in the week, Frank was trying to trade for a first baseman. Meanwhile, he's got Hunter Dozier on his team, hitting .571 with a .625 on base percentage, with 2 triples in the same game. That single-handedly tied him in triples, and doesn't have him lose that category. He had a homer and 6 RBIs, 2 runs scored, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Guy's been absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing looking for a first baseman? You've got the hottest first baseman, arguably, in baseball. Carlos Correa did well as well. 321 average, 367 on base, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 4 runs, a double, 2 walks. Yet I'm pretty sure he led the league in strikeouts this week, 11. That's a rough week. And Jose Ramirez came back to life. 318 batting average, 444 on base, a homer, 4 RBIs, 3 steals is the big thing, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 2 runs and a double. Frank, pitching-wise, Caleb Smith did have a quality start. I don't want to poo-poo him. He is off to a very good start. I personally have a sour taste in my mouth from Caleb Smith because of last year's Mike Trout trade. He just doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to keep this particular start up. He's not going to pitch to a 2.17 ERA for the season. But another quality start, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, a 1.50 ERA, and an 0.67 WHIP. John Lester comes back off the DL, gives him a decent start. I don't want to call it a quality start because it wasn't. It was 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, a 1.80 ERA, and an 0.80 WHIP. But he did take the loss because the offense got shut the fuck down. And finally, Roenis Elias continues to be the solid closer that he needs, despite not getting a save this week. He did get a win in his 2 appearances, 3 innings, 4 strikeouts. Without Hunter Dozier, this matchup is so much more one-sided. Dansby Swanson put up a really good week in real life, but on his team hit 0.83 on Frank's team. Andy choked away ERA and homers in the last 2 days with a pair of bad streamers in Eric Swanson and Jaime Barria. Those two, for context, for Barria it was even worse. It was an inning and 2/3, the loss of 37.80 ERA and a 6.60 WHIP. For Swanson, it was 4 innings, a loss, 2 homers, 2 strikeouts, 13.50 ERA, a 2.75 WHIP. Without those 2 starts, Andy wins a lot more pitching stats. Could have been a bigger win, but it's still a win for Andy. He moves to 9th. Frank falls to 6th. Moving on to a really close matchup, and I think it was close all week. Witness protection, Jason Ashby just ekes out Angels in the Trout Field, Bobby Russo. 10-9 is the final. This was number 6 versus number 9 coming into the week. Nice. Close categories. Jason won homers by a pitcher given up by a pitcher by 1. and 3 strikeouts. Bobby won errors by 1. They tied in triples and relief appearances. This is another matchup where there is a whole lot of, one guy wins a stat completely. It's a very hitting versus pitching matchup. And let's dive into it. Jason on his bench went 11 for 39. That's a 282 batting average. 6 runs, a double, a homer, 7 RBIs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, and an error. He also streamed Ivan Nova. When the fuck are you guys gonna learn about this trash heap? I feel like he's about to go again today, and so help me if somebody is streaming this fucking guy. He sucks. He's fucking terrible. Why on earth are you streaming him? God damn, he went 4 innings and had a 20.25 ERA and a 350 WHIP. He gave up 4 homers in 4 innings. Stop fucking streaming this guy. Are you guys hanging on to the 6-inning loss he had at New York? He gave up 2 runs, or he gave up a run to the Yankees. Are you forgetting that the Yankees are fielding a fucking AAA team? He had a really nice start against Cleveland on opening day. Cleveland didn't have Francisco Lindor and Carlos Santana, and Jose Ramirez was hitting like shit. This guy is trash. He's got an 8.42 ERA on the season. If you take away those 2 really good starts against basically AAA teams, it's even worse. Stop streaming the guy. He's garbage. Moving on. That's my rant of the week. Moving on. Jason wasted a move on Mitch Moreland early in the week. It looks like on Tuesday. He picked up Mitch Moreland for Mike Minor after Mike Minor's fantastic start. And then Moreland wasn't starting, so he dropped him and picked up Mark Reynolds. I don't think he maxed out on moves, so it's not that big a deal. But I like to point out when people waste a move because we only get 13 for the week. For Bobby, Bobby went 19 for 67 on his bench, a 284 batting average, 11 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs, a steal, 7 walks, and 15 strikeouts. Tough week for him when it comes to his left field and right field left field especially. Brett Gardner on Tuesday goes 4 for 5 with a double, a triple on the bench. That was the Ivan Nova start. Wait, was he against them? Was he against them? No, he wasn't. Never mind. Anyway, he went 4 for 5 with a double and a triple. Brandon Nimmo went 0 for 4 in left field. And then on the 26th, which was Friday, Adam Jones goes 3 for 5 with 2 runs, a double, and 2 RBIs on the bench. Gardner goes 0 for 1 in left field. Nimmo is 2 for 4 with a run and a double on the bench. Between Brett Gardner, Brandon Nimmo, Nick Markakis, and Adam Jones, those 4 guys are the rest of Bobby's outfield, other than Trout and Kane, who are both center field only. He's going to mix and match, and sometimes he's going to get it wrong. And I feel for him because I feel the same way with my infield. So, nothing huge as far as moves are concerned with Bobby. He did drop Renato Nunez, which surprised me. So much so that I reached out to him about it. Renato Nunez is one of maybe only 2 bright spots in the Orioles lineup. He had a monster game last week when I played against Bobby, and he had him on his bench. It was a 2-game doubleheader where he went 5 for 9 with 3 homers in the 2 games. He's hitting well. He's hitting 276, 6 homers, and 18 RBIs. Somebody's already scooped him up. It's Andy Solar Greco. But to see him drop for Heimer Candelario, who's then dropped for Tyler Mahle, who's then dropped for Trent Thornton, he wasn't just another guy. And I get that you have, Will Myers and Derrickson Profar, but I feel like Profar is more the drop there. Like, he's not playing nearly as well as Renato Nunez was. Anyway, that's just my take. Key players for the week. For Jason, it was Andrew Benintendi, another name that I have not yet said this year. And it's good to see him coming around. Where the hell is he? There he is. Benintendi for the week goes 273, 4 runs, 3 doubles, 2 RBI, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. That's a 407 on base percentage, though. Victor Robles he only hit 214, but he had 5 runs, a double, a homer, 4 RBIs, and 4 steals. That was huge. A walk and 8 strikeouts. And Whit Merrifield, 286 batting average, 444 on base, 5 runs, a double, a triple, a homer, an RBI, 6 walks, and 3 strikeouts. For a team with Victor Robles and Whit Merrifield, and for a team with those two guys on it, I don't think Jason should ever lose steals either. Plus, he's got Trey Turner. Whatever he comes back, he's got a ton of speed on this team. Pitching wise for Jason, start with Marco Gonzalez. 7 innings, 7 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts, and a win. Absolutely solid. Tyler Glasnow does it again. 6 2/3, a win. Looks like 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts, a walk, and a home run. And finally, Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates continues his domination at the back end of the San Diego pen. 3 appearances, 3 saves, 4 strikeouts, 1.33 whip. For Bobby, Nick Markakis had another great week. If I can get up here to him. 318 batting average, 3 doubles, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 407 on base. Josh Bell only hit 222, but had 2 homers, 4 RBIs, a triple, 2 doubles, and 3 runs scored. Did have 12 strikeouts in the week, though. But Bobby 1 strikeouts for the week, so it doesn't hurt too bad. And Ketel Marte, out of nowhere, 294 average, 400 on base, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a triple, 3 runs scored. Huge week for Ketel Marte, who is off to a decent start. 6 homers and 21 RBIs. This was a really ugly matchup as far as pitching is concerned. A 4.69 nice ERA and a 1.27 WHIP wins over a 4.94 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP. A ton of walks, a ton of home runs. Bobby had 7 losses. Like, just an ugly week pitching. But Jason's pitching wins out as mediocre as it was. And that's what won him the week, because Bobby won the majority of the offensive categories. Moving on. We move on, and a guy who gets off the losing streak more than doubles his winning output through the first 3 weeks of the season. Chris Levy gets a big-time win over Josh Haber, 13-5. This was number 7 versus number 16 coming into the week. It now is Levy's 14th, and Josh falls to 10th. For Chris, he won homers by 1, RBIs by 1, and got a complete game. We'll get to that. And Josh won stolen bases by 1. They tied in triples, walks, wins, and saves. For Chris, on his bench, he went 18 for 68. That's a 265 batting average, 10 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 2 steals, 11 walks, 14 strikeouts, and an error. Big thing here was Delino DeShields on Tuesday didn't start in center field, and Ender Inciarte went 2 for 3 with a run, an RBI, and a steal on his bench. I don't know if that was a timing of the game thing. I don't know if that was, he didn't like Inciarte's matchup that day. And then the following day, Eduardo Escobar goes 3 for 4 with 2 runs, a double, and a triple on the bench. He didn't necessarily have somebody that was in the lineup that I was screaming, oh my God, he needed to not start that guy. But because, I mean, Trevor Stories is starting shortstop. His third baseman's Maikel Franco. It's just one of those, yeah, that hurts to see on his bench, especially considering, they tied in triples and he lost stolen bases by 1. So to see the stolen base and the triple on his bench so early in the week just hurts. Just hurts. Nothing special as far as drops for Chris. We move on to Josh's team. Josh went 14 for 56 at the 250 batting average, 9 runs, 3 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 5 walks, 18 strikeouts, and 2 errors on his bench. He only made 1 move all week, and that was dropping Adam Simber. But holy shit, did he need to do something with his lineup? It hurts to see that Brandon Lau was in his lineup as much as he was, as well as Kurt Suzuki. On Tuesday, Kurt Suzuki was in the lineup and didn't play, and yet every other guy on his bench got him a hit and a run. And considering he's got both Washington catchers, this should be simple. You look at the lineup, you see who's playing, you put him in. It's Kurt Suzuki and Yan Gomes. There's not going to be another catcher there. On, what was that, Wednesday? Friday, Yan Gomes goes 3 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs on the bench, and Kurt Suzuki's not playing. Eric Hosmer goes 2 for 4 with a homer on the bench, and Brandon Lau, this game was postponed, and he was in the utility spot. Adam Simber's on the bench with an inning and 2/3 and a win, and then gets dropped the next day. I don't get it. The next day, Kurt Suzuki's not playing. Gomes is on the bench. Lau didn't play. Hosmer's still on the bench. It's almost like he wasn't checking his lineup those 2 days. And then on Sunday, Eric Hosmer goes off 3 for 5 with 2 runs, a double, a homer, and 3 RBIs on the bench. And again, Brandon Lau's not playing. It hurts to see when Brandon Lau gets rained out and then doesn't play 2 days in a row, and he's sitting in your utility spot, and you have guys going off on your bench. I honestly think that's the reason that Josh lost this week as bad as he did. He loses by 1 homer. He loses by 1 RBI. He loses by 1 triple and, ties and walks and a 240 batting average. These things were all gettable and very easily gettable. Key players for the week in this matchup. For Chris, it's Trevor Story. Trevor Story went 400 for the week, 464 on base, 8 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Christian Walker, a 233 batting average. You don't like to see that, but he did have a 303 on base with a homer and 4 RBIs, 4 doubles, and 4 runs scored, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. And finally, Dexter Fowler comes out of nowhere with a decent week, a 471 batting average, a 571 on base percentage, a homer and 5 RBIs, 4 runs, and a double. Pitching wise, and this is another point where it's going to be a spoiler alert for later. Zach Eflin, 13 innings, a win, a loss, a complete game, 6 strikeouts, a 2.77 ERA, an 0.92 WHIP. Absolutely dominated the Miami Marlins. He did give up a run in the complete game, so it's not a complete game shutout, but it's still the best start of the week. And Zach Eflin absolutely dominated. Alex Colomé, 3 relief appearances, a save, 2 2/3 of clean inning baseball. And finally, Steven Strasburg, 7 innings and 9 strikeouts. Solid performance all the way around. For Josh, Freddie Freeman gave him a good week, 389, 522 on base, 3 homers and 5 RBIs with 3 runs scored. Ozzie Albies had a good week, 389 batting average, 476 on base, 3 homers, 3 RBIs, 7 runs scored. And Josh Donaldson, 250 batting average, 400 on base, a homer, 5 RBIs, 3 runs, and 2 doubles. For pitching wise, it was a whole lot of relievers for him because not a whole lot of pitching did well for him. He ended with a 5.08 ERA and a 144 WHIP. You know, it was a bad pitching week for Josh. So I'm going to give it to Andrew Miller's 4 appearances in 3 innings. Pedro Strope's save over 2 relief appearances, and Greg Holland's save over 2 relief appearances. You know, just it was a bad week for Josh. Like he seemed to not check his lineup. I hope he's all right. I hope everything's good with him. You know, it was close toward the middle of the week. I remember thinking, hey, Chris is actually going to have a good week even if he loses. And the back end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Chris surged ahead where Josh fell apart. Moving on. We move on to Kershaw for Passover, Mike Sherman, taking a 12-7 win over Nick the Beavers Homan. Close categories, Mike wins by 2/3 of an inning, 2 wins, and 1 relief appearance. Nick did not win anything close. He either won by a safe margin or didn't win at all. And they tied in triples and saves. For Mike on the bench, huge week. 10 for 23. That's a 435 batting average. Has 6 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, and 7 strikeouts. You know, early on in the week, he benched Herman Marquez and Sandy Alcantara, who got a win, 9 strikeouts, 6 walks, 2 homers, 4 earned runs over 13 innings. I marked it down in case it mattered at the end. It didn't. Nick didn't win a single pitching category. But when it comes to offensive categories for Mike Sherman, he needs to look no further than his backup second baseman, Danny Santana. This is going to be my pitch for Danny Santana to start over Gleyber Torres at second base for you. And it actually works out now that Fernando Tatis got injured. You can move Gleyber to shortstop. But holy shit, Danny Santana had himself a fucking week. He went 3 for 5 with a run, a homer, and 2 RBIs on Tuesday. Went 3 for 5 with 2 runs, 2 doubles, and RBI on Saturday. And 3 for 4, 3 runs, an RBI, and a stolen base on Sunday. The vast majority of that 10 for 23 that I talked about is Danny Santana on the bench. Like, get this guy into your lineup and get him in there quick because that guy should not be wasted on your bench. For Nick, on his bench was 13 for 40. That's a 325 batting average. 8 runs, a double, 5 homers, 10 RBIs, 6 strikeouts, and an error. You know, Tuesday he had 4 for 8, 3 runs, 3 homers, 6 RBIs. Puig and Franmil Reyes were both on the bench that had those two that stat line combined. Chris Bryant goes over 3. Andrew McCutchen goes over 3. You know, again, it's an outfield of riches where you've got, you know, McCutchen and Springer and Rosario and Puig and Reyes. And, you know, 4 of these guys play right field, 2 of them only playing right field. And it's difficult to make a decision and live with the consequences of who you're going to start each day. Later on in the week, Puig goes 2 for 5 with a homer and 3 RBIs and 2 runs on the bench, while McCutchen goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So what does he do? He flips him, and that's great. McCutchen goes 1 for 3 with 2 runs and a homer on the bench. It's frustrating. It's annoying. You just sort of got to live with the consequences. Nick made 1 move for the week. He dropped Clay Buchholz for Homer Bailey, dropping, you know, kind of crap for crap. Like, let's be real about it. Key players for the week for Mike, who won. Pete Alonso, 238 average, which you don't like to see, but he did have a 333 on base, 3 runs, a double, a triple, a homer, and 5 RBIs. Fernando Tatis before the injury, 333 batting average, 364 on base, 2 runs, a double, 2 steals, which is why I'm highlighting him, because one of the only offensive categories Mike did win was stolen bases. And Luke Voit. Luke Voit came to play this week. 433 average, a 528 on base percentage, 10 runs scored, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 5 walks. That dude came to mash this week. Pitching wise, and I had a really hard time dropping Ronaldo Lopez this week because I saw this incredibly juicy matchup with Detroit coming on Sunday, and I'm thinking that would be their best way to top off the week. But I had to drop him for whatever reason. I don't remember why. And he turns around and gives Mike 6 innings, 14 strikeouts. The guy was nearly unhittable. Just a great start for him. And if you take away his 2 bad starts, he's actually done pretty well. If you want to stream a Chicago White Sox pitcher, that's the guy you do, not fucking bullshit Ivan Nova. Jordan Hicks did well for him. 4 appearances, 3 saves. And Clayton Kershaw, this might be the steal of the draft when all is said and done. 7 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts in the win. He's come back, and he's looking like Clayton Kershaw, and that's kind of dangerous for the rest of us. For Nick, Reese, I run the bases really fucking slow. Hoskins, 292 average, a 433 on base, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, a triple, 2 doubles, 4 runs scored. He mashed off of Jacob Rhame. Fucking guy. DJ LeMahieu, before he went down with an injury, 321 average, 355 on base, 5 RBIs, 2 steals, 3 doubles, and 6 runs scored. And Elvis Andrus came to play this week, 375 average, 483 on base, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 6 runs, a double, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. And for pitching on Nick's side, again, he didn't win a single pitching category, but that doesn't mean he didn't. Well, I mean, he had a 6.75 ERA, a 147 WHIP, 5 losses, 14 homers. It was an ugly week for him, but there are, what's the word? Diamonds in the shit. Marcus Stroman pitched pretty well for him. Stroman went 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, shutout ball with 2 walks. Wade Davis gave him 3 saves over 4 appearances. And Shane Bieber, his team's namesake, gave him a quality start, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. It's Carlos Rodon, it's Jacob deGrom, it's AJ Minter, it's Clay Buchholz and Homer Bailey that really drove up that ERA. We move on, and we move on to what I was looking forward to and what turned out to be one of the most exciting matchups of the week, despite the fact that it was, a 13 versus a 15. This is the Nisman brothers. This happens once, twice, maybe if we're lucky, we get the occasional 3 times in a season. These guys link up, and man, it's another great matchup. They tied 9-9. Benny wins triples by 1, innings pitched by 1, and homers given up by 1. Ari wins by 2 doubles, a steal, and 2 walks. They tied in RBIs, wins, and losses. For Benny, oh crap! I didn't total either of these guys. All right, let me pause again. Okay, my apologies. For Benny on his bench, he went 10 for 35. That's a 286 batting average, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Big things here. Miguel Cabrera's doubleheader was on his bench, 3 for 7, a run, a double, and an RBI. And Ryan Zimmerman was playing in Colorado. Unless it's a really, really bad matchup, I don't see why you don't play the guy who has the doubleheader. Um, that was on Tuesday. On Friday, Benny benches Joey Votto, who goes 2 for 5 with a homer and 2 runs scored. Beckham was at the utility spot. What did he do that day? I didn't take a look. It looks like he went 0 for 4. No, he went 1 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. And Carlos Santana went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts and an error. So you'd love to have gotten Joey Votto in there. And on Sunday, Ben benches 3 starting pitchers, all of which go 7 innings. He gets 2 wins, a loss, 3 homers, 3 walks, and 18 strikeouts from Chris Sale, Steven Matz, and Kyle Gibson. To see that he only won innings by 1 and would have won wins, would have lost losses, would have lost walks anyway. Was it worth benching him? I don't know. Even if you take just the worst start of the bunch, which was the Chris Sale loss, I believe. I think he still would have dominated pitching anyway. Moving on to Ari, he went 12 for 54 with a 222 batting average, 7 runs, a double, a triple, a homer, 3 RBIs, a steal, 3 walks, 15 strikeouts, and 4 errors. Ari started off with an absolutely amazing week as far as his bench is concerned. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it was an all-time low. Like, he only had 2 hits, 2 errors, 5 strikeouts. He went 0 for 13 on his bench on Friday. And then all of a sudden, shit went sideways. Saturday and Sunday, he put up all of those stats. A Johan Camargo triple on Sunday would have won that for him. Rougned Odor had a 3-run homer on his bench, and Travis Shaw went 0 for 4 at second base. Just stuff like that. Key players for Benjamin: Tim Beckham, though he dropped him, hit 263 with a 333 on base percentage, a homer, 5 RBIs, a walk. He did have 10 strikeouts though, so I guess I see why Ben dropped him. Joey Votto had a great week. He had 6 walks. Offensively, Ben didn't win a whole lot of categories, so I tried to find the guys that helped him win the categories he won. Joey Votto's 6 walks certainly did help. Did have a 429 on base percentage. And Jock Peterson. So Jock Peterson hit 091 for the week. He only had 1 hit all week for Ben. But it was a triple. And it was the triple that won him the week. Won him that category. So, more power to him. For Ari, Nolan Arenado, as expected, 346, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 7 runs, 4 doubles, and a 333 on base. Charlie Blackmon, again, the Rockies were at home, so this is to be expected. Charlie Blackmon, 296, 345 on base, a homer, 5 RBIs, 3 doubles, 5 runs scored, a stolen base, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. And Josh Reddick. Josh Reddick had a great week, 348 average, 444 on base, a homer, 3 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 doubles, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Pitching-wise, again, Ari is just having the damnedest time pitching. A 4.30 ERA this week, a 1.17 whip. That's his best whip of the season. His ERA is coming down every week, but it's not winning him anything. The only category he won was walks, and that's a category that Ben accumulated more. So, whoop-de-doo. I will give him credit where it's due, though. The Matt Harvey start on Sunday nearly won him innings. Harvey did go 13 innings on the week, 7 strikeouts, a 2.08 ERA, and an 0.77 whip. Okay, Matt Harvey, we see you. Are you coming back? That's an interesting 2-start week. And, it was against the Yankees and Kansas City. Okay, it wasn't against, powerhouse offenses, but it's something. He also got a decent start out of Jose Urena, 7 innings, a loss, 4 strikeouts, 2.57 ERA, and a 1 whip. And Sergio Romo got him 2 saves over 2 appearances. Another solid back and forth matchup between these two. Comes down to the wire, and they tie at 9. It was a great matchup, as you'd expect from the Nisman brothers. I'm going to really quickly get through the bests and worsts of the week because it looks like I'm up to an hour and 9 minutes at this point. Best start of the week, Zach Eflin's complete game. That was done by Chris Levy. Best weekly performance, Cody Bellinger, 444, 500 on base, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, a steal, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts for James McCloskey. The worst start of the week was definitely Ivan Nova. 4 innings, a loss, 9 earned runs, 4 homers, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, a 20.25 ERA, and a 3.50 WHIP. The best streamed pitcher of the week goes to Ronaldo Lopez for Mike Sherman. 6 innings, a win, 14 strikeouts. The worst streamer of the week was Jimmy Dunlap, who streamed Homer Bailey for an inning, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, no strikeouts. That's a 36 ERA and a 7 WHIP. And the worst performance of the top 2-round players offensively, it goes to Manny Machado this week for Mike Sherman, 4 for 20. That's a 200 batting average, 2 runs, 3 RBIs, and 6 strikeouts. And for Nick, it's Jake DeGrom, 4 innings, a loss, 7 strikeouts, which is nice to see, but an 11.25 ERA and a 2 WHIP versus Milwaukee. Boys, I'm on top of the world. I'm looking down on the rest of you. I've got Jason Ashby this week. So Jason, best of luck to you, sir. May you be the one who slays the dragon. Good luck this week, guys. I'll see you next week.